The golden age of Asgard was a time of unparalleled splendor. The Bifrost, the shimmering rainbow bridge that connected the 9 realms, pulsed with life as gods, messengers, and warriors traveled between worlds. The halls of Valhalla echoed with the laughter of the Einherjar, the brave souls chosen to feast and train for the final battle of Ragnarok. The air was thick with the scent of mead and the sound of harps, and the gods themselves seemed invincible, their power radiating like the sun. But beneath the surface of this perfect world, something was wrong. I, Odin, the All-Father, ruler of Asgard and guardian of the 9 realms, felt it first. It was a subtle unease, like a single note out of tune in a grand symphony. At first, I dismissed it as the weariness of an old king. After all, I had lived countless lifetimes, witnessed the rise and fall of empires, and borne the weight of prophecy on my shoulders. But this feeling was different. It was as if a thread had been pulled loose from the tapestry of fate, unraveling something vital. I stood at the edge of Asgard's highest tower, gazing out over the realms. The Bifrost shimmered in the distance, its colors dancing like fire. Yet, for the first time in centuries, I felt no joy in its beauty. "You've been quiet lately," a voice said behind me. It was Frigg, my wife and queen. Her presence was a balm to my troubled mind, but even she could not dispel the growing unease. "Something is missing," I said, my voice low. "Something essential." Frigg stepped beside me, her gaze following mine. "The realms are at peace. The gods are strong. What could possibly be missing?" I shook my head. "I do not know, but I feel it like a shadow in the corner of my eye. A void where there should be light." Frigg placed a hand on my arm. "Perhaps you should consult the Norns. They weave the threads of fate. If something is amiss, they will know. The Norns. The weavers of destiny." I had not sought their counsel in centuries, for their answers were often cryptic and their demands steep. But Frigg was right. If anyone could explain this growing unease, it was them. The next morning, I descended into the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree. Its branches stretched across the 9 realms, and its roots delved into the deepest mysteries of existence. The Norns dwelled here, in a cavern where time itself seemed to bend and twist. The air was thick with the scent of earth and the hum of ancient magic. The cavern was dimly lit, the only light coming from the glowing threads that crisscrossed the space like a spider's web. These were the threads of fate, each one representing a life, a destiny, a story. The Norns stood at the center of the web, their forms shifting and indistinct. Urd the past, Verdandi the present, and Skuld the future. Their voices echoed as one, a haunting melody that sent shivers down my spine. "All-Father," they said, their voices weaving together. "You seek answers." "I do," I replied, my voice steady despite the weight of their presence. "Something is missing. A thread has been pulled loose." "What is it?" The Norns turned their gaze upon me, their eyes like endless voids. "The tapestry is incomplete," Urd said, her voice heavy with sorrow. "A key figure is absent," Verdandi added, her tone neutral yet foreboding. "A catalyst," Skuld whispered, her voice a chilling promise. "A trickster. A bringer of chaos," I frowned. "Who?" "Speak plainly." The Norns' voices merged once more. "Loki." The name hung in the air, unfamiliar yet strangely resonant. "Loki." I searched my memory, but it was as if the name belonged to a dream I could not quite recall. "Who is Loki?" I demanded. The Norns did not answer. Instead, they gestured to the tapestry. I stepped closer, my eyes tracing the threads. And then I saw it, a gaping hole where a thread should have been. The absence was jarring, like a missing piece of a puzzle. "Loki is gone," the Norns said. "Erased from existence. And without him, the tapestry unravels." I felt a chill run through me. "Why?" "How?" But the Norns only shook their heads. "That is for you to discover, All-Father. The 9 realms depend on it." I returned to Asgard with more questions than answers. Frigg met me at the gates, her expression one of concern. "What did they say?" she asked. I hesitated, unsure how to explain the inexplicable. "They spoke of someone named Loki. A trickster. A catalyst. But I cannot remember him. It's as if he never existed." Frigg's brow furrowed. "Loki, the name feels familiar yet distant. Like a story half remembered." I nodded. The Norns said his absence has disrupted the tapestry of fate. If we do not find out why, the 9 realms may fall into chaos. Frigg placed a hand on my shoulder. Then we will find the truth. Together, as we walked through the halls of Asgard, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. The shadows seemed darker, the silence heavier. And in the back of my mind, a single question echoed: who is Loki? The halls of Asgard were quieter than usual, the laughter of the Einherjar replaced by an uneasy silence. The golden light that once bathed the realm now seemed dimmer, as if the very essence of Asgard was fading. I, Odin, could not shake the feeling that something fundamental had been lost. The name Loki echoed in my mind like a forgotten song, its melody just out of reach. Frigg and I stood in the great library of Asgard, a vast chamber filled with ancient scrolls, runes, and artifacts. The air was thick with the scent of parchment and the faint hum of magic. Frigg had suggested we begin our search here, among the records of the gods. If Loki had truly existed, there had to be some trace of him, some fragment of memory preserved in these halls. "Where do we begin?" Frigg asked, her voice soft but resolute. "We look for gaps," I replied, running my fingers along the spines of the scrolls. "If Loki has been erased, there will be holes in the records. Stories that end abruptly, prophecies that make no sense. We must find what is missing." Frigg nodded and began to sift through the shelves, her movements deliberate and precise. I admired her focus, her ability to remain calm in the face of uncertainty. She was my anchor, my guiding light in the storm. Hours passed as we combed through the archives. The more we searched, the more we found. Fragments of stories that seemed incomplete, runes that spoke of a trickster whose name had been scratched away, and prophecies that mentioned a bringer of chaos without further explanation. Then Frigg found something. "Odin," she called, her voice tinged with urgency. "Come here." I hurried to her side. She held a scroll in her hands, its edges frayed and its surface covered in faded runes. The script was ancient, older than even my memory. "What does it say?" I asked. Frigg's eyes scanned the text. "It speaks of a bond between gods and giants, a pact forged by a trickster who walked between worlds. But the name is missing." I took the scroll from her and studied it closely. The runes were familiar, yet their meaning was obscured, as if a veil had been drawn over them. "This is no ordinary erasure," I said. "This is magic. Powerful magic." Frigg's brow furrowed. "Who could have done this? Who could erase a god from existence?" I had no answer. But I knew one thing: we were not alone in this search. Heimdall, the ever-watchful guardian of the Bifrost, approached us as we left the library. His golden eyes gleamed with concern, and his voice was grave. "Oh, Father," he said, bowing slightly, "I have noticed anomalies." "What kind of anomalies?" I asked. "The flow of time," Heimdall replied. "It is as if certain events have been rewritten. Memories are fading, not just here in Asgard, but across the 9 realms. Even the Bifrost trembles as if it senses the imbalance." I exchanged a glance with Frigg. This was worse than I had feared. "We must act quickly," I said. "If Loki's absence is causing this, we need to find out why he was erased and how to restore him." Heimdall nodded. "I will keep watch. If I see anything, I will inform you at once." Frigg and I decided to split our efforts. She would continue her search in Asgard, delving deeper into the archives and consulting the other gods. I, meanwhile, would journey to Jotunheim, the realm of the frost giants. If anyone remembered Loki, it would be them. The journey to Jotunheim was treacherous. The Bifrost carried me to the edge of the realm, where icy winds howled, and the ground was covered in snow. The frost giants were not known for their hospitality, and I knew I would have to tread carefully. As I ventured deeper into the frozen landscape, I was met by a group of giants. They were massive, their skin pale blue and their eyes like shards of ice. They regarded me with suspicion, their weapons raised. "Odin," one of them growled. "What brings the Allfather to our realm?" "I seek answers," I said, my voice steady. "I seek knowledge of one who once walked among you. A trickster, a bridge between gods and giants." The giants exchanged uneasy glances. "We know of no such being," the leader said, though his voice wavered. "Do not lie to me," I said, my tone hardening. "I can see it in your eyes. You remember something, even if you cannot name it." The giants hesitated. Then one of them, smaller and older than the rest, stepped forward. "There are stories," he said, his voice low. "Stories of a figure who brought chaos and change. He was neither god nor giant, yet he walked among both. But his name is lost to us. What else do you remember?" I pressed. The old giant shook his head. "Only fragments. A laugh that echoed in the frost. A shadow that danced in the firelight. And a warning that without him the balance would be broken." I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. The giant's words confirmed what I had suspected. Loki's absence was not an accident. It was a deliberate act, one that had far-reaching consequences. Back in Asgard, Frigg had made her own discoveries. She met me in the vault, a hidden chamber filled with artifacts of immense power. In her hands, she held a broken mask, its surface cracked and its features twisted into a mischievous grin. "I found this," she said, her voice trembling. "It was hidden deep within the vault, behind layers of enchantments. I think it belonged to him." I took the mask from her, feeling a strange energy pulse through it. It was as if the mask itself remembered its owner, even if we did not. "There's more," Frigg said. She gestured to a shard of glass and a feather from a falcon's wing, both resting on a pedestal. "These artifacts, they feel connected, as if they were part of something greater." I studied the objects, my mind racing. The mask, the shard, the feather, they were pieces of a puzzle, fragments of a story that had been erased. "We're getting closer," I said. "But we still don't know who erased Loki or why." Frigg nodded, her expression determined. "We'll find the truth, Odin. No matter what it takes." As the chapter closes, the mystery deepens. Odin and Frigg have uncovered fragments of Loki's existence, but the full picture remains elusive. The 9 realms teeter on the edge of chaos, and the gods must confront the possibility that Loki's absence is not just a loss but a threat. In the shadows, something stirs. A primordial force, ancient and hungry, begins to awaken. And in the back of Odin's mind, a single question lingers: who erased Loki, and what are they hiding? The artifacts Frigg had discovered, the broken mask, the shard of glass, and the falcon's feather, pulsed with a strange energy, as if they were alive with memories. I, Odin, held the mask in my hands, its cracked surface reflecting the dim light of the vault. The mischievous grin etched into its features seemed to mock me, as if it knew something I did not. "These objects are connected," I said, my voice low. "They are pieces of Loki, fragments of his essence. But how do we use them to bring him back?" Frigg stood beside me, her expression thoughtful. "Perhaps they are not meant to bring him back, but to lead us to him. Like a trail of breadcrumbs, they may guide us to where his essence lingers." I nodded, though the thought filled me with unease. If Loki's essence still existed somewhere, it would not be in a place easily reached. The Norns had spoken of a hidden realm, a pocket of reality where Loki's presence lingered. "But where?" Heimdall's voice interrupted my thoughts. "All-Father," he said, his golden eyes gleaming with urgency. "The anomalies are growing worse. The flow of time is unraveling, and the Bifrost trembles with every passing moment. If we do not act soon, the 9 realms may collapse." I turned to him, my grip tightening on the mask. "What do you suggest?" "The dwarves," Heimdall said. "They are masters of craft and magic. If anyone can help us decipher these artifacts, it is them, the dwarves of Nidavellir." It was a sound plan. The dwarves had always been allies of the gods, their skill unmatched in the 9 realms. If anyone could help us, it was them. The journey to Nidavellir was fraught with danger. The Bifrost carried me to the edge of the realm, where the air was thick with the scent of molten metal, and the ground trembled with the rhythm of hammers striking anvils. The dwarves were a reclusive people, their forges hidden deep within the mountains. As I approached their stronghold, I was met by a group of dwarven guards. They were short but sturdy, their eyes sharp and their hands calloused from years of labor. "Odin," one of them said, his voice gruff but respectful. "What brings the All-Father to our realm?" "I seek your aid," I replied. "I have artifacts that may hold the key to restoring balance to the 9 realms. But they are shrouded in mystery. I need your expertise to unlock their secrets." The dwarves exchanged glances, then nodded. "Come," the leader said. "We will take you to our master smith." The master smith of Nidavellir was an ancient dwarf, his beard long and gray, his eyes sharp with intelligence. He examined the artifacts with a practiced eye, his fingers tracing the cracks in the mask and the edges of the shard. "These are powerful objects," he said at last. "They are imbued with a magic I have not seen in centuries. A magic of chaos and change. Can you help us?" I asked. The master smith nodded. "Perhaps. But be warned, the magic within these artifacts is volatile. To unlock their secrets, you must enter the labyrinth of illusions, a place where reality bends and twists. It is a dangerous journey even for a god." I hesitated. The labyrinth of illusions was a place of legend, a realm where the mind could be lost as easily as the body. But I had no choice. If this was the path to Loki, I would take it. "I will go," I said. The master smith nodded. "Then prepare yourself. The labyrinth will test you in ways you cannot imagine." The entrance to the labyrinth of illusions was a swirling vortex of light and shadow, its edges shifting and unstable. I stepped through, my senses immediately overwhelmed by the surreal landscape. The walls of the labyrinth were made of mirrors, their surfaces reflecting distorted versions of myself. The air was thick with the scent of ozone, and the ground beneath my feet seemed to shift with every step. As I ventured deeper, the illusions grew stronger. I saw visions of my past, my triumphs, my failures, my regrets. I saw Frigg, her face filled with sorrow, and Heimdall, his golden eyes filled with accusation. I saw the frost giants, their icy breath freezing the air, and the Norns, their voices whispering secrets I could not understand. But the most haunting vision was of Loki. He appeared before me, his form shifting and indistinct. His eyes gleamed with mischief, and his smile was both familiar and alien. "Odin," he said, his voice echoing in the labyrinth. "You seek me, but do you truly understand what you are seeking?" "I seek the truth," I replied, my voice steady despite the unease in my chest. "I seek to restore balance to the 9 realms." Loki laughed, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. "Balance? You speak of balance, yet you fear chaos. You cannot have one without the other, Odin. That is the truth you refuse to see." I reached out to him, but my hand passed through his form as if he were made of smoke. "Where are you, Loki? Why were you erased?" Loki's smile faded and his eyes grew serious. "I erased myself to protect the 9 realms. There is a force, ancient and hungry, that thrives on order and stagnation. Without chaos, it would consume everything. I sacrificed myself to keep it at bay." I felt a chill run through me. What force? But Loki did not answer. Instead, he gestured to the mirrors around us. "The labyrinth will show you the truth, Odin. But beware, the truth is not always what you wish to see." As I ventured deeper into the labyrinth, the illusions grew more intense. I saw visions of the 9 realms in chaos. Asgard in ruins, the Bifrost shattered, the gods fallen. I saw the primordial force Loki had spoken of, a shadowy entity that consumed everything in its path. But I also saw glimpses of hope. Loki, whole and alive, standing beside me as we faced the force together. The artifacts in my hands glowed with a fierce light, their power resonating with the energy of the labyrinth. At last, I reached the heart of the labyrinth. There I found a pedestal, its surface etched with runes. The artifacts in my hands pulsed with energy, as if drawn to the pedestal. I placed them on its surface, and the runes began to glow. A voice echoed in the chamber, deep and resonant. "To restore the trickster, you must face the truth. The truth of your fear, your pride, your failure. Are you prepared, Odin?" I took a deep breath, my mind racing. The truth. It was a simple word, yet it carried the weight of the cosmos. "I am," I said. The runes flared with light, and the labyrinth dissolved around me. I found myself standing in a vast, empty space, the artifacts glowing in my hands. And then I saw him. Loki. He stood before me, his form whole and solid. His eyes gleamed with mischief, but there was a sadness in them that I had never seen before. "Odin," he said, his voice soft. "You found me." Loki stood before me, his form whole and solid, his eyes gleaming with that familiar mischief. Yet there was something different about him, a weariness, a weight that had not been there before. The artifacts in my hands pulsed with energy, their light casting long shadows across the vast, empty space where we stood. "You found me," Loki said again, his voice soft but tinged with bitterness. But do you understand what you've done, Odin? Do you understand the cost? I stared at him, my mind racing. You erased yourself to protect the Nine Realms. You sacrificed yourself to keep a primordial force at bay. But why? Why not tell us? Why not let us help you? Loki's smile was bitter. Because you would have tried to stop me. You would have clung to your precious order, your perfect balance, and in doing so, you would have doomed us all. That force, it thrives on stagnation, on the absence of chaos. Without me, without the disruption I bring, it grows stronger. I had to remove myself from the tapestry of fate to keep it at bay. I felt a chill run through me. And now, what happens now? Loki's gaze was steady. Now you must choose. You can leave me erased, and the Nine Realms will continue to unravel. Or you can restore me, and risk unleashing the chaos that keeps that force in check. But know this, Odin, if you bring me back, you will weaken yourself. You will have to sacrifice a part of your essence to reweave my thread into the tapestry of fate. I hesitated, the weight of his words pressing down on me. To restore Loki was to embrace chaos, to accept that the world could not exist in perfect order. But to leave him erased was to allow the Nine Realms to fall into ruin. There was no easy choice, no path without consequence. I will restore you, I said at last, my voice firm. The Nine Realms need you, Loki. They need the chaos you bring, the change you inspire. I see that now. Loki's expression softened, and for a moment I saw the friend I had once known, the ally who had stood by my side through countless trials. Then do it, Odin. But be prepared for what comes next. I placed the artifacts on the ground before me, the broken mask, the shard of glass, and the falcon's feather. They glowed with a fierce light, their energy intertwining to form a shimmering thread. I reached out and grasped the thread, feeling its power surge through me. By the power of the All-Father, I intoned, my voice echoing in the vast space, I reweave the thread of fate. I restore the trickster, the bringer of chaos, the catalyst of change. Loki, I call you back into existence. The thread pulsed with light, and I felt a searing pain as a part of my essence was drawn into it. The light grew brighter and brighter, until it enveloped everything. And then it was done. Loki stood before me, whole and alive, his mischievous grin firmly in place. But I felt weaker, my power diminished by the sacrifice I had made. "Welcome back," I said, my voice strained. Loki tilted his head, studying me. "You look terrible, old friend. But don't worry, I'll make sure the Nine Realms are interesting enough to keep you on your toes." I couldn't help but smile despite the pain. I'm counting on it. The Nine Realms were plunged into chaos as the natural order reasserted itself. Storms raged across Asgard, the Bifrost flickered with unstable energy, and the frost giants grew bolder in their attacks. But amidst the turmoil, there was also change. New alliances were forged, old rivalries were rekindled, and the gods were forced to adapt to a world that was no longer perfectly ordered. Frigg found me in the halls of Valhalla, her expression a mix of relief and concern. "You did it," she said. "You brought him back." I nodded, though the effort cost me. "I did. But the cost was high. I am weakened, and the Nine Realms are in turmoil." Frigg placed a hand on my arm. "Turmoil is not always a bad thing, Odin. Sometimes it is necessary for growth. Loki's return will bring change, but it will also bring balance." I sighed, leaning on my spear for support. "I hope you're right, Frigg. I hope you're right." Loki, true to his nature, wasted no time in causing trouble. He appeared in the halls of Asgard, his laughter echoing through the corridors as he played pranks on the Einherjar and stirred up mischief among the gods. But there was a new edge to his actions, a sense of purpose that had not been there before. "You're welcome," he said, appearing beside me as I watched the chaos unfold. "For what?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "For reminding you that the world isn't meant to be perfect," Loki replied, his grin widening. "A little chaos keeps things interesting, don't you think?" I couldn't help but chuckle, despite myself. "Perhaps you're right, Loki. Perhaps you're right." As the Nine Realms began to settle into their new balance, I felt a sense of peace. The primordial force Loki had warned me about was still out there, lurking in the shadows, but for now it was held at bay. The gods were stronger for having faced the chaos, and the Nine Realms were more vibrant than they had been in centuries. But in the back of my mind, a single question lingered. What happens when the primordial force returns?